Hello and welcome to the Musical Instrument Investigator. Today we're on the website of Aguttes Auctions based in France, and we're going to have a look at their latest auction, which is fine instruments and bows. I'm on a mission to try and improve my pronunciation and get things sounding a bit better. Let's see how that goes. Probably not brilliantly, but you know, everyone loves a trier. So yeah, this auction is finishing on Saturday the 30th of November. It's the 20th today, so a few days left to go. As always with these videos, our aim is just to blitz through and have a look if there's anything interesting. This particular auction is, yes, violins and bows mainly, and a few other bits, but hopefully of interest to some. Looks like the buyer's premium is 24% on this sale, so remember, whatever the final hammer price is, you need to add that to the final cost. There's also sometimes other fees as well, VAT, etc. Bear in mind this is a French auction, so if you look to buy anything and you're outside of France or outside of the EU, then there might be other charges as well, import, export, shipping, all of that fun stuff. Bear in mind CITES restrictions as well. So before we get on and have a look at what's here, there's about 121 items, so a fair amount, but nothing too crazy, a nice manageable number. I'd just like to say, if you do enjoy these videos, please consider liking, subscribing, turning on notifications, etc. And please do comment if you have any questions, even if it's kind of negative or whatever. Go for it. Be interesting to open up some discussions, because at the moment I'm kind of mainly just talking to myself here, but if anyone has any thoughts, please do say. Gradually I think I'm getting a bit better at understanding instruments, but there's always lots and lots to learn. So anyway, that's enough of kind of talking rubbish for a while. Let's just crack on and see what's in this sale. This website's usually fairly well laid out, so hopefully we don't need to do anything too crazy on the setup. So we've got a violin by Albert de Blay from Mirecourt around 1922. Probably pronounced that wrong already, but hey, we gave it a go. Looks like fairly standard. 1,000 to 2,000 euros is the estimate. Obviously needs a setup, etc., and difficult to kind of say what the condition is without looking at it in person. Which says excellent condition, but always asks for some kind of condition report. 359 length of back, so fairly big, but not outrageous. French violin here, Mirecourt 1900. It's got a Buthold label. Nice back on that, actually. 600 to 800 euros on that. Let's see if we can do a full screen. Yeah, quite nice back on that. And 360, that's fairly large, but the French do like to make them quite big, or did like to make them big for whatever reason. French violin, Mirecourt, 20th century, 356 length of back here. Sometimes Aguttes has some interesting stuff, sometimes not. Okay, right, violin, Nicolas Mouchand here. First half of the 19th century there. Double purfling, 361 length of back. This is a kind of very similar style to a lot of other French instruments of this time. I'm thinking like the Didier Nicolas kind of stuff, but looks interesting enough. 800 to 1,000 euros, so it's not outrageous. It is pretty large though, but like I said, that's fairly standard for French stuff at this time. German violin, 19th century work, has a Klotz label. 500 to 1,500 euros. That's actually a fairly big estimate range. It's kind of unusual. This looks kind of okay, a bit better than your average. Probably one of these ones that's worth looking at in person. Yeah, kind of fairly interesting. That one, 354 length of back there. It's got some worm, traces of worm, ready to play apparently. Violin by Louis Motissier there, 363, absolutely huge. Circa 1820. Needs a bit of attention here and there. 600 to 800 euros. That's kind of, it is very large, but it seems a kind of reasonable estimate. A bit of an eye missing there, so read the condition reports there. Shame there's no side images. It's always nice to have a look from the side. Ooh, a lovely French violin. Okay, made in Mirecourt. late 18th century, 361. They do just absolutely love the longer instruments there. 1,500 to 2,000 euros there. As it happens, I do actually quite like that. I quite like the back of it, like the colour of the varnish. Looks interesting. Right, pretty French violin, right, okay. They're just going into this at the moment. Bearing South Iron Mark to the city of Venice. And there's a various Florentinus label. Okay, 363, so it's got to be French, because it's absolutely giant again. 800 to 1,200 euros is the estimate. Kind of interesting so far, though, to be fair. Not hoping that this screen is actually covered by the video when I click on it. Otherwise, that's going to be quite awkward if it's not. But let's hope so. Right, it's a JTL here, fairly standard stuff, 500 to 800 euros, French workshop, churning them out. German violin, 19th century work. They decided so good they photographed it twice, they would say. Looks fairly standard as well, 360 length the back. Right, Charles Louis Colin Mazin. There, 1922, 2 to 3,000, so anything kind of Colin Mazin is kind of popular, any of that family. It's not a JB Colin Mazin or one of the other kind of family members of that same name, but yeah, it looks interesting, excellent condition. It's got the look that people are after. Another JTL here. I mean, this is a French auction, so we do expect to see a lot of that. 359 on that. Yeah, it's fairly tidy looking instrument there, so it's good condition. An interesting violin, so in the style of the Naples school. Okay, let's have a closer look at this. Some nice kind of interesting, nice back on that, and the corner work is quite curious. Peg placement interesting. This is one of those violins that ordinarily I'd just dismiss it straight away, but I think probably if you look at it in person, might be an interesting one. There are lots of violins which, just looking at pictures, you just kind of think, oh, it's just the same old kind of stuff, but it's definitely worth looking at some of these in person or getting other opinions. But anyway, interesting. 1,000 to 1,500. 366 though, my lord, that is absolutely huge. That is very odd. Okay, Serge Boyer. Okay, interesting. Violin by Serge Boyer here. Vehicle around 1970, 354 length of back. 700 to 1,000 euros. I think, I'm pretty sure we saw a Serge Boyer violin recently. Maybe it was Aguttes and it didn't sell. But that's kind of an interesting opportunity there. 700 to 1,000 to buy one of those. Another JTL. 600 to 800 there. German violin. This looks fairly standard stuff. 19th century. Here's a Didier Nicolas Ain. It's probably not Ainers, it's probably some other pronunciation that I haven't quite bothered to learn yet. But yeah, this looks like one of them. It looks like it needs a few repairs and stuff. I really like these actually. There's lots of different ones of this. There's ones that kind of were made while he was alive, and then there were ones when the workshop was sold. So there's a whole different range of things going right into the possibly even to the 20th century, I think. But yeah, this one looks like a fairly decent one. 1,000 to 2,500, but it does need some work. Actually, what was the size of that? Yeah, 363 again. They do like them as big as possible. Another French violin here. Fairly standard. Another JTL. I think we're just going to skip by these. There's really not much point going into all of them. Jolly violin. A fine violin, 20th century, so it's a bit of a unknown. 500 to 1,000, looks interesting enough. Another French violin here. Charles Louis Colomazat Fee. Okay, 357. Miracle 1912, 1,000 to 2,000. Another Colin Mazat family violin there. Okay, a violin by André Lessigneur. God, that is an interesting name there. Violin made in Carsac in 1997, number 14. 358 length of back, ready to play. Okay, this is actually quite interesting. For some reason this looks familiar as well, but I don't know. Yeah. Oh, right, wow. Okay, was not expecting that. Wow, okay. Well, that is an interesting head. Yeah, okay. I can kind of see maybe why someone may not want to buy that violin now. Oh, right, that is actually unfortunate because that's quite a nice looking violin. That is really not my taste, but it will be to someone. Okay, interesting. Right, here we have a violin, Jules Grandjean, 5 to 7,000 euros. Miracle, kind of circa 1850. These always sell really, really well. 358 length of back. It's got a certificate as well here. Serge Boyer certificate, interestingly enough. So that's kind of curious. I think, does it have a, I don't know, or maybe that's just oh no, sorry, that's Pierre Guillaume. What's going on here? Maybe they're just saying, oh, sorry, they're saying that there is a certificate coming with that. That's not really explained exactly what the situation is with that, but it looks like some kind of certificate is being provided by that, for that, possibly a Boyer certificate. Interesting back. I mean, I don't really quite know myself why these sell. These are so popular. I presume it's some kind of tonal reasons, because in person I'm always a bit underwhelmed by them, but interesting to know if anyone has any thoughts on those. But they always sell really, really well at auctions, so I don't think there's any much issue with that kind of estimate, although it's maybe a little bit high. Looks like it needs a bit of work. Right, another Colin Mazat Fee violin there, 1,000 to 2,000. French violin, 18th century, label of Jean-Matthias Wolters. Looks nice there. Heel replaced, 365 though, wow. They've really found the largest violins that they can. Another French violin, Miracle Factory, 800 to 1,000 there. Okay, a violin by Jean-Baptiste Frebrunet there, sometime around the kind of mid 18th century there. 357 length of backs, had some restorations, not going to read into them too much, but yeah, I think this is fairly interesting violin, and I do quite like the 18th century French ones. Wonder if it's got a soundpost crack on the back here, back near the centre joint. So broken soundpost here, broken bass bar crack and soundpost crack. So a lot of issues going on there, but interesting violin. German violin, late 18th or early 19th century. 355 is the length of back. 2 to 3,000 euros, and that's a nice back actually on that. It's an interesting one. Right, violin by Nicolas Jomier. Miracle around 1770. Leon Mougenot, circa 1925, 2 to 4,000, so getting a bit more higher level. Violin by Andreas Heuer, or 1912. 1 to 2. Right, French violin, 18th century work. Nestor Ordino violin there. Paris, 1896. That one coming with a certificate as well. Nice back on that, 6 to 8. French violin, mid or late 18th century. 500 to 1,000 euros on that. 356 is the length of back. It's had a few repairs. Later head in copy. Okay. There's some post cracks been repaired in the front. Georges Apparout violin there. Vehicle 1925, 3 to 4. So some of these are sold with certificates. Alain Moynier, Vehicle 1995, 1000 to 2. Another one of these André Lesseigneur violins here. Carsac 2014, 358, ready to play. This one actually doesn't have a scary head, so that's kind of a bonus. Shame, I actually preferred the other one, to be honest, but anyway, that 1 to 2,000 euros on that. Right, a Louis Gersaint violin here, Paris 1739, really good maker there, 356 length of back, 15 to 18,000 euros on this, so this is a really great French maker. Nice looking back on that. Looks like a fairly decent violin there. Some worm, original label. Yep, that is a fairly interesting one. One of my favourite French makers, Nicolas Augustin Chapuis, 360 length of back, 8 to 12,000 on that. Nice looking violin there. Right, a nice Italian composite violin. Top probably by Dalla Costa in Treviso. Interesting. Be curious to know what the rest of it is about. So 15 to 30,000 euros. So it's fairly substantial. Yeah, nice top on that. Really, that's a nice looking back there. Not so keen on that scroll, but otherwise, yeah, curious looking one. 351 length of back. Okay, a few restorations and things, so definitely interesting. Right, Joseph Hell here, made in Lille, 12 to 15,000. Another one of these really popular French makers. Nice, really nice varnish, nice making on that. So definitely one of the better French makers, I think, of that period. Right, Nicolas Francois Fourier violin here, 8 to 10. A very fine and rare French violin, apparently. Paris 1805. Once again, got a nice varnish on that. It's had a few breaks and things there. 361 there, it's a little bit longer. Right, violin by Sylvestre M. Mocatel here. Paris 1906. So some fairly good items in this sale. 8 to 10,000 euros on that. Okay, right. We're really hitting the big ones here. So a violin by Giovanni Galliano. Somewhere between the late 18th and early 19th century. They're saying Naples 1803 here. An exceptional violin. Certificate by Serge Boyer from 2010, 353 length of back, ready to play. Original label there. Okay, let's have a look in the expanded kind of zone. Interesting wood choice on that. That's curious. Yeah, see these kind of close together peg spacing that you often see with these Neapolitan violins or Galliano family violins. Nice kind of tight scroll there. There's the certificate of authentication and another few bits here. So yeah, interesting looking violin. A little bit plain to my taste, but definitely kind of a curious one for sure. Okay, so right, we have a violin by Enrico Veronesi from Udine in 1931. Certificate from Eric Blott, so I think we're good for that. Certificate from 2024 August, so fairly new. 357 length of back there. Original handwritten label. Numbered number 16. Not a maker that I know much about, to be honest. The name is familiar, but 8 to 10,000 on that. It's a bit of a new one on me. Nice scroll there, certificate. I think that's right. Interesting enough. 8 to 10,000. Not really much to say about that one. French violin. Work in the circle of Louis Laghetto there. Let's have a look at that. 5 to 8,000 euros. Interesting enough. Okay, Exceptional Quartet by Charles NL. Okay, violin made in Paris 1928. Violin made in Paris 1923. Viola made in Paris 1930, cello made in Paris 1924. Okay, really interesting to see that. 30 to 40,000 pounds quartet of instruments. Okay, let's have a look at that. And beautiful back on that. That is really quite nice. So expect we're going to see quite a lot of images in this. That one, not so nice. And that fairly kind of standard as well. And here's the cello. Interesting varnish. Looks like it's failed a little bit on that, but yeah, interesting anyway to see that. German viola here, 1900s, 389, so it's kind of a smaller factory viola. Okay, right, it's our friend Andre Lessigneur, something like that. Viola made in Carsac, 2014, number 26, 406 length of back, which is pretty good. 1,500 to 2,500 euros on that. Looks kind of similar varnish to the last violin that we saw. Oh, another one here. Wow, okay. Really churning them out. Number 24, another viola. Slightly different varnish on that one. This type of antiquing kind of concerns me a bit on instruments like this, because we do see that a lot in instruments coming from China. Right, lovely German viola, 18th century, probably made by Simpetus Nigel in Füssen. Okay, and it bears that label. So saying kind of 1776, 3 to 5,000 on that. Certainly curious. 385 though, it is quite small. French viola there, 18th century, probably made by Jean Bourgeat, it says. Needs obviously a bit of setup work here. 6 to 800 euros, it's not too bad. 392 length of back, that's kind of not too small. And we've got a very fine viola made in Paris in 1905 by Auguste Delivet. 403 length of back, that's pretty good. 8 to 12,000 on this one. We got a cello here. Interesting cello French. First half of the 18th century, probably in the workshop of Jean Ouvrard. Okay, let's just have a quick look here. Maybe let's do a larger view of this cello. Yeah, it looks nice enough. Few things going on here. Some sound post crack, bass bar crack, etc. But I mean, not too unsurprising for a older cello. Right, cello by Maurice Bourguignon, Brussels, 1930. 5 to 10,000 on that. Cello by Maison Lebert Humbert, 8 to 10,000 on that. Right, cello by Jacques Fustier, Lyon, 1981, so fairly new. Let's have a look at this. It looks quite decent, 15,000 to 20,000 euros there. This is perfect condition, ready to play. Look like the internet is not playing ball. Right, okay, cello by Stefan von Baer, Paris, 2005, 40 to 60,000. This gentleman is certainly a flavour of the month or flavour of the year as living makers go, and his stuff is going for big money. So, copy of Domenico Montagnana there, ex Stanise, ex Pierre. Okay, interesting. Right, cello by Nicolas Matteu, 7/8 French cello there, 18th century. Let's have a quick look at the scroll. Just wondering if there's any interesting details on that. Oh, onto some bows. Violin bow there. German school. We're not going to get into bows too much. Oh, lot not sold, so that's not happening. Marc Lebert bow there. Emile Francois Houchard. Peugeot School, Bazin, Georges Bargenet. So nothing crazy in the bow section thus far. Mozart Frère, it's all fairly standard French stuff. Pierre Malin, it's a little bit better here. 1,000 to 2,000 there. Mozart Frère. Right, bow by Eugene Cugnot, known as Cugnot Huri. Original and all parts, 1,600 to 2,600. We're gradually seeing some better stuff come through. Bow by Dominique Poisson, known as Justin Poisson. I really definitely need to learn how to pronounce that properly, because that one is definitely one where I'm failing quite expertly, I think. Okay, bow by Charles Nicolas Bazin, 2/8 to 3/8. Right, Marie Louise Piano, 3.5 to 4.5. Right, bow by Jean-Joseph Martin, 3 to 5. Okay, bow by Matthias Theophile Auguste Barbe, 4 to 6 on that. It's got the Raffin certificate there, so that's all good. Joseph Alfred Lamy Père bow there, 5 to 8. Emile Francois Houchard Père, 3 to 4. Got a bit of information here. It's got a Pierre Guillaume certificate, so that's all good. Joseph Alfred Lamy Père. Emile Auguste Houchard, 12,000 to 15,000, so we're really in the higher levels now. It's also got a certificate with it. 10 to 15,000, we've got a Nicolas Auguste Eugene Malin bow. A lot of these French makers are just too many names. Need to cut down on the names here. Right, bow by Louis Montzenfi, about 1970. Double bass bow, interesting, 2,000 to 3,000 on that. Ivory mounted though, could be problematic. So this looks like a viola bow. Composite silver mounted viola bow there, 400 to 800. 800 to 1800 is a cello bow made for Lebert, branded G. Fournier. Claude Thomasin cello bow here, 3 to 5, made for Caressa and Francais. French double bass bow here, 1,000 to 2,500 euros. Try and get on to the next one if we can. It's being a bit slow. French violin there, Mircourt, kind of late 19th century that, 400 to 600. Right. A violin by Poirot Ain, Mircourt, late 18th, early 19th century. Okay, 400 to 800 on that. French violin, Mircourt, early 20th century. Interesting back on that one. Okay, violin made by Lebert. Another French violin, another Lebert, so nothing too crazy here. Another Mircourt, possibly JTL. German violin, 19th century with Hopf, standard kind of stuff there. Another Mircourt violin here. More Mircourt stuff. Kind of standard trade there as well. More kind of generic German stuff. And same here with French violins, so nothing too crazy. German violin, 19th century. Let's just have a quick look at that. 354 length of back. Kind of interesting enough. 354. Another French violin there. This is all fairly standard stuff. German violin with this interesting kind of banding, purfling around that you get on some trade violins. The kind of Mircourt thing. The German violin. More kind of standard trade stuff here, so we don't really need to look at these too much. Some kind of student violins here. Kind of generic French violins. Same kind of stuff. Student 3/4 cello. Some other French bows here, 200 to 400. JTL bow, 150 to 300 there. Some of these JTL bows are pretty good though. Brazilian bow, Marco Raposo. A French bow there. Okay, Marc Lebert violin bow. Another JTL. We're getting towards the end of the auction now. Francois Lot, 3/4 size violin bow. Little case here from H.C. Silvestre there. So, oh, is that the end? Oh, that's potentially the end. I thought there was a few more lots than that, but that appears to be the last lot. So yeah, an interesting auction for sure, and I think definitely worth looking at this one. Do check it out and see what you think. Now I've lost the actual catalogue. But yes, coming up on the 30th of November. Do check it out. Let me know what you think. Any comments? Definitely a few interesting violins in this sale, actually, that I was expecting this to be a super low value, kind of uninteresting sale, but I was pleasantly surprised. So definitely worth checking out if you have some free time. So thanks a lot for watching. Really appreciate it. And I'll catch you next time. Bye.